My name is Anat Baniel. You'll be seeing a demonstration of the Anat Baniel method of Feldenkrais with children. It is a compilation of portions of 6 lessons out of 14 that I've given Grace over a period of 6 months. It is the shorter version of my work with Grace. Grace was 13 months old when she first came to us, and she's diagnosed with brachial plexus. If you want to find more information about the Anat Baniel method, you may log on to www.anatbanielmethod.com. Thank you. Grace, she's 11 days old here. You're watching her on a home video that the parents provided us with. And as you can see, her left arm is moving normally, like an infant's arm should move. And the right arm is lying quite inert. Here in the bathtub, she's crying intensely. You can't hear it. Again, the left arm is moving and the right arm is barely moving, just a little bit with the movements of the shoulder and the pectoral muscles. The mother started her on a cranial sacral osteopathic treatment early on for about 15 treatments. And at 3 months of age took her to physical therapy. Here you can still see her with a sister with the right arm quite inert and the left arm moving. After 1 month of physical therapy, the mother felt that there was not much outcome, so she took her to occupational therapy until she was 13 months old, at the time she came to see me. Here she's 9 months old, and as you can see, she's holding an object in her right arm and is using primarily her left arm. The position in which the right arm is in was the position that she was in most of the time when she came to see me first. The movement of the child is of quite high quality. That means that her nervous system is intact and she's capable to organize movement around the limitation. Here, you'll see in a second she's going to try and turn on her belly, but she falls. She's unable to reach out with the right arm to carry the weight. However, she has transferred an object. That means she has some use of her fingers, and she uses the right arm mostly to hold things and also to hoard them under the forearm. Again, as you can see, she's moving very beautifully. She does not side sit. And did not side sit when she came to me, and that is because she couldn't lean on the right arm. Again, here the mother has been doing a range of motion exercises with her from birth, and here she's 10 months old, and again doing this wonderful movement of scooting and managing the movement despite the arm that is of very little use for her. Here you see, this is my very first lesson with Grace on June 19th, 2002. I'm trying to see how her left shoulder moves compared to the right shoulder, because I want to see how the part that works well is, to know the difference from the part that's not working quite as well. Grace is going to be nursing here. It's of utter importance for me that the child feels completely safe, so that they are available to feel themselves, feel their bodies, and change and reorganize. As you can see here with my hand, I'm gently exploring to feel how the shoulder blade is organized, how the spine is organized, how she's organized in general around the limitation in the right arm. And as you can also see, I'm not working on the right arm at this point. My idea is that the right arm develops, or the left arm for that matter, or any part of ourselves, develops in the context of the whole body. And the brain has to organize the whole self, even if we think of the arm. So here, for instance, I am feeling how the right side of the spine and the left side of the spine are different, and in which directions the spine is ready to move and in which are not. The directions in which the spine is not ready to move are associated to the directions in which she cannot move her arm. So rather than trying to fix the arm and exercise it and make it do what it can't do, I go to the areas that are as important in the movement of the arm, even though most people are not aware of that. And these areas are not injured. These areas are not harmed. So it's much easier to get her to learn to move in those areas first, rather than the arm. And if you can see, the child actually pays attention to what I'm doing and obviously feels what I'm doing and allows me to do it. She is in intimate contact with the mother, but she's looking at me, she's noticing. For instance, here my hands are on the lower back. The lower back on the right side is also not organized well enough, and there are certain movements that it would not allow her to do. For instance, here with the leg, I'm trying to see how easily the knee would turn inward. That means that she would side sit with the right leg backwards, which right now she cannot do. And the reason she has not learned to do it is not because anything is wrong with the hip or the joints, it's just because she cannot lean on the arm. Her system won't allow her to do it because it's unsafe. Now that I've brought about or helped her bring about a few changes in the back and the shoulder, which I feel with my hands, I work to associate it very delicately with her arm. Now the girl has been protesting for the past few months any of the range of motion exercises, which I believe is due to pain and discomfort. Here she is absolutely not stopping me or having any upset. And I'm trying to right away connect the changes in the area of the spine and shoulder blade and ribs and how that is organized to the arm. And as you can see, she lifted the arm and reached forward spontaneously on her own without me coercing her or trying to have her do it. You see that those changes with all the children oftentimes happen within minutes or seconds. I can already see a response in the child's movement and action to what I'm doing with them. And sometimes it seems so natural that it's hard to remember that it wasn't there just a few minutes earlier. You see, she's bringing the arm, actually by bending the head like that and lifting the arm, she's bringing the arm quite close to her head. And as you can see, I'm also engaged in conversation with the mother because, of course, she doesn't know what I'm doing. It looks like I'm doing practically nothing. And she feels the friendliness, she feels the happiness of her child, but she still doesn't understand that I'm doing anything at all. And the touch looks deceptively simple. It looks like I'm maybe massaging her, but what I'm really doing is touching to feel what she can do. Here, for instance, I can feel that she will not bend her head over to the left. And of course that's associated to the left arm that she wouldn't lean on, so her whole organization is over to her right. And the child is listening to me, but you'll see here when I try to move her head, she doesn't like it. It's not something she's used to doing. The spine doesn't know how to bend. She's just didn't like it. So I moved my hand away and I keep it away and I wait for her to want me to touch her again. And it's not a question of me forcing the movement, but her reorganizing herself. Did I do it? This is Grace's fourth lesson. I have given her lesson number 2, 3, and 4 consecutively, which is the way I like to work, to give the child the lessons close to one another and then give them a break for a week or 2 or 3 and then see them again. Since her third lesson, the mother has reported that Grace has been lifting her arm, as you can see here, too, higher and higher, and the dad commented that she's more aware of her arm. Now here it's only the fourth lesson. As you can see, the ease at which the arms go up, and of course I use both arms, not just the affected arms, so that, because I think of it from the point of view of the brain and learning, I use the arm that she can use well to guide her as how to use the other arm. And here she's very specific, of course, about her desires, but as you can see, I'm starting to work on her right foot. And again, both in terms of bringing the right leg and the hip and the lower back to participate in relationship to the arm in ways it hasn't done before, and also because there is in the development of the child, the development of the foot, the awareness of the foot and the hand, holding the foot and chewing the foot and all that stuff is very essential. And I imagine that she was not able to do that with the right hand, and hardly did it with the right foot, and possibly with the left hand as she was growing. Here you can see I'm continuing, this time in a sitting position, to help organize and have her feel that she can use her back in certain ways that facilitate for the right arm to lift, and actually need to move that way whether the arm is paralyzed or not. Anyone who uses their arm well when they lift the arm up, they also use their back certain ways. Now when I move here the legs again, is I'm trying to help her to differentiate the movements of the pelvis in relation to the spine and the back, so that she could side sit. And as the arm becomes more dependable, I don't want the legs and the pelvis and the spine to actually limit the use of the arm. In other words, the whole body has to reorganize itself and evolve together in relation to the arm. And here you'll see she brings, and here for the first time ever, she leans on her right arm for a few seconds. You can see it without me trying to make her do it, but because of what happened in the rest of her body. And if you just saw, she takes this chain and puts it over her head with both arms. And you see she reached with the right hand actually first and lifts it and starts including it, here it is, with her movement without hesitation. That means we don't need to do any kind of range of motion exercise anymore. The child is going to range of motion her own arm in her own life, doing things she's interested in. This is the 5th lesson on July 16th and the following week. In the background you see Naomi, who is the teacher who co-works with me. She sees Grace roughly 4 times a month, while for now I still see Grace quite frequently in July. And you can see spontaneously the movement of the right arm and the left arm. Here I'm starting to work with her, and as you can see, I'm actually engaging her first with a hand that she can use better. Because if she's going to feel it with the hand she can use better, then she will also be more likely to feel it with the other hand. The mother reports that she's using her right hand in a more natural way, meaning obviously that there's less spasticity. Look how beautifully the wrist now in the right hand. She turned, rotated the whole arm. And more she uses the right hand equally to the left hand, reaching with it and touching and exploring the world with it. Here in the sitting position, as you can see, I continue with what I've been doing up until now. And then, of course, always look how high she's reaching now with the right arm. That doesn't have to be encouraged, except what I did at that moment around her back and shoulder blade facilitated for her to do that. And I work also on her feeling how to shift the weight, more and more to be able to shift the weight over to her right, which obviously she's been avoiding throughout her life. And as you can see, as the back gets organized to lift the arm better, the arm is going remarkably behind her head already. And here again, trying to get her to feel that she can shift the weight both ways. And within 5 lessons, look what we already take for granted, that she brings the arm above, she takes the chain over her head. And now that she's coming up, it's an opportunity to bring the same demands on the system, but in the standing position, which also gives more freedom. So I can start taking the arm back, the shoulder back, and it's not really I can take it back, she can take it back. I feel she can, then I jump in. Every time I feel she can do something additional, I just jump in. And of course, bring the hands behind her head and feeling her hair with her right hand for the first time in her life during this lesson, or maybe a lesson before. And she usually at this stage still goes back to nursing, which gives me an opportunity to do some detail work at that point around the arm and the shoulder. Here she's on her knees and sort of on her hands, chest, mother, and I get an opportunity to bring her upside down, at which time her arms are over her head. That means by changing the relationship to gravity, she can do a lot more. Now you'll see something wonderful here. I do a little bit and she does it herself. And I'm myself completely surprised. I expect changes to be there all the time, but the specific changes are up to the child, just like with the development of a healthy child. Look, she feels it, she senses it, and she does it, and of course, very happy. Look at the movement. This is the 10th lesson in October, mid-October, and at this point, starting September, I saw her only one time, but starting October, seeing her only twice a month, trying to schedule it 2 consecutive days, because over the years I realized that if I give the lessons consecutively, children have exponentially better outcomes than if I disperse the lessons that I'm going to be giving them. In the interim, when I see her only twice, Naomi sees her between 3 to 4 times a month. Here you can see that she's rotating the arm, the hand, the right hand, and showing me, giving me her palm by herself. She's using her leg to lean against to help her do it. But obviously she's aware of the hand and is looking to do the movement on her own. And very soon afterwards she'll be able to do it without needing to use her leg to do it anymore. Grace has specific expectations already in the lessons, which is wonderful, and as you can see, she loves sitting on the table, being surrounded with toys, and her need for constant closeness with the mother has reduced to a great degree. The report from the mother when she came to this lesson is that Grace is doing finer motor movements with her wrist and her fingers, that she drew with a crayon using her right hand, that she's lifting her arm beautifully and has much more strength in it, which is of course what I would hope to be happening. So here she's busy drawing on herself, and I'm guiding her to actually draw on different parts of her arm while I'm doing my work, trying to facilitate for her to do this movement. And you can see the beauty in which she now turned the hand and the wrist one way, another way, and how she manipulates the crayon and bends the right wrist and uses the fingers very delicately with the right hand, just as delicately as with the left. And as a result, for her, she was able to open it. These are very hard to open. I know it from my own experience. They're pretty tough. And look again how she can pick it up and turn and twist and do a variety of different things. Here she draws with the right hand on her left one. And again, I do just actually minor intervention here because she's really doing the brunt of the work on her own already. So there is no need for me to interfere. I will do things as long as I feel that I add valuable information, kinesthetic and other kind of information to her system. Otherwise, anything extra is just an interference, and I'm not interested in that. Here I'm trying to get her to say yes and no. She just points and will not talk to me. And when she says yes, she says yes and no at the same time, but I got her at least to say a little yes. And here she's trying to open it, and she succeeded. And again, if you watch, when she makes a big effort, the right elbow still tends to get spastic. That will get reduced more and more. At the end of the lesson, this 10th lesson, I'm showing this just to see how spontaneously she's using both hands and moving her right hand and wrist so beautifully. This is lesson number 13, 3 weeks later on December 17th, 02. The mother reports that Grace has been crawling a lot with her sisters spontaneously. Her arms are straight and her thumb is no longer tucked under when leaning on the right hand. She turned her right palm over to eat from spontaneously. Probably the most important event, which I'm here talking, the motion that I'm showing, is that the mother went to a 6-month checkup with the orthopedic surgeon at the Shriner Hospital and was actually terrified by what she was told. They told her that the back muscles connecting to the scapula on the right side are not functioning, and in order to avoid shoulder dislocation, they will need to do a tendon transfer surgery with Grace, but we'll have to wait 2.5 years till she's 4 years old. They implored and stressed on the mother to do the range of motion exercises, specifically the one I was showing, which will move the humerus in the joint to the extreme, both forwards and backwards. The mother followed the instruction and promptly dislocated the child's shoulder, which of course was painful, but then went back to place. What I tried to explain to the mother is that just as the doctors think of her shoulder in isolation, that is how they think of the surgery. However, the arm is connected to her whole body that is managed by her brain. Muscles will only grow with use and function. And we didn't get Grace to crawl by doing range of motion exercises. Actually, it was when she started working with me and stopped doing the range of motion that occurred. And it's really about an arm within the context of a whole person. Now, there is a need to bring Grace to be able to bring the arm behind her and use it. But first of all, it's 2.5 years away, and I don't quite understand why to scare the mother so badly, but especially there was no recognition of the improvements that has occurred over the past 6 months, which I also find quite surprising. So here you will see I'm trying to move her to the next level of being able to use her back and her lower back in this unusual position for her, of course, so that we will be able to work with the arm going behind her in a safe way rather than dislocating it by doing all the movement in the joint itself. This is the 14th and last lesson that Grace received to date on December 18th, 02. And as you can see, she's very happy and safe and wants to come on the table right away. And here I'm right from the beginning starting to work on bringing the arm behind her, the movement that the doctor was concerned was not available for her. But it's done in a way where it's fully safe, because the distribution of the movement is more evenly and equally distributed throughout the spine, hips, shoulder, neck, and the whole body. It will get dislocated if I would freeze her body and not allow it to participate and try to do the movement in its entirety in the shoulder joint itself. And of course, once that occurs, it opens the opportunity to get the elbow to move even better and straighten more fully. The night before, after her lesson, she went home and crawled a lot on her own spontaneously. Here, as you can see, I'm needing to convince her to allow me to have the right arm, because she is used now to using it all the time. And bringing the head and the upper spine to coordinate with the movement of the arm is of essential importance. And here, very gently, you see the elbow for the first time straightens completely, and then the spasticity is gone, and there's an easy, light movement that I can do with this arm. And it's not that I can do, it's that she can do. And now she's right back into crawling, which she is obviously now interested in doing. And of course, also the crawling movement utilizes the scapula and the muscles that connect the shoulder blade to the back, even though it doesn't look like it unless one understands the way the movement is organized a little more fully, and see how beautifully she's leaning on both hands and how perfectly now she shifts the weight from the right hand to the left hand. That means the head moves a bit to the right, a bit to the left, exactly as it needs to, and the hip joints work equally, consecutively, one after the other. And I think of course great importance is the child's joy in doing the movements, which means that she will continue using it by herself, uncoaxed. Here again, one can see the beauty in the way in which she's utilizing the hand and the wrist, and the beautiful way in which she's sitting, and the accuracy. Here she's showing us what she drew on her right hand, and of course this is a close-up of this beautiful little child. And here she's turned the hand herself and she's drawing into her palm. It's her own idea, it comes from her, and I'm trying to explain the mother and calm her down so that she will have the freedom to see what her child is doing and enjoy the differences and feel safer, rather than for the look at her child and be continuously worried that and see what is wrong with her. So now look how beautifully now, as I'm working on the neck, how she's reaching with the hand, the right hand, and the accuracy and the delicacy of that movement. And of course, when we look at the changes that have already occurred, one has room to extrapolate into a world of additional possibilities and change into the future. I see no reason why her brain and herself will not be able to acquire new movements and more strength and more freedom, just as she's done up to date. Actually, the more she has gained, the more she will be able to gain in the future. And because the organization is so good, I can go now into more details. So I'm working with her wrist. Look, no spasticity, the speed at which it can go back and forth. She's not so interested in me doing it. She wants to play with the doll. But the mother by now understands so well what I'm doing, and the mother is so sensitive to the process that she facilitates. But she right now wasn't interested in me doing it, so I find another way to continue working with her and intensifying the representation of her right side in her system. Because it is not obvious to the eye, but when the right hand and arm is or has been paralyzed for so long, actually the right leg is also quite different from the left one. And as we want to bring the right arm into full functioning, it's important to bring also the whole right side into functioning. Even if it hasn't been directly affected through neurological damage, functionally it gets affected.